Welcome to Play by Players, an MLSPA podcast. Now here's your host, former MLS player, Bobby Boswell.
All right, hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. We've got a special guest today, a guy that's been a MLS Cup champion, Supporter Shield winner. He was a winner pretty much at all phases of his soccer playing days, and he also has some incredible things going on in his personal life off the field. But please welcome to the podcast, Justin Morrow.
What's up, Bobby? How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How's everything going in your world?
I'm doing all right. I'm over here in Hartford, Connecticut, where we're finishing out the season. You know, the Canadian teams have had to move south. I feel like that's kind of been an underplayed story in Major League Soccer, what we're going through here, but we're holding up all right.
Yeah, you know, just you go away from your family for the MLS Cup is back, or MLS is back, and then they just don't tell anyone you're also MLS is away for all you Canadian guys. And you know, how are you guys handling it, y'all? I imagine the aura of like being together as a group has kind of lost its way. It's just kind of more of a grind at this point.
Yeah, it comes and goes. For the most part, we've been doing pretty well. The results have been on our side, so that always helps. You know, it's never good when you're on the road for a long time and the losses are piling up. So we've been on the good side of that. The team morale has been good, and we're getting back to see our families every couple of weeks or so. We get back for 2 days, and so that's like a little refresher, and then we're back in the saddle again. So looking forward to finishing out the season here on a good note.
Yeah, and I know lately, you know, we'll get into some of the stuff you have going on, but you in particular, you've been, you know, I know you're doing a bunch of these, you're doing a bunch of media, you're doing a ton of meetings with, you know, I'm impressed just some of the people you're meeting with and talking with on a regular basis. How are you holding up physically? I mean, I never tell someone they look tired, but I know you're probably tired with in practice and then everything else you have going on off the field.
Yeah, it's been a lot. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a lot. Some of the days I'm amazed that I'm getting through it the way I am, but I just have a really good support team around me. You know, my family first and foremost, and then the club has done an amazing job to keep all of the guys happy. You know, really well taken care of off the field. So that's been a good help of mine. But yeah, it's been some heavy lifting these past couple of months, and I've had some good help. Okay.
Well, you know, let's get into you a little bit. We talked before the podcast started. You know, I reached out to some of my Ohio buddies. Some of my favorite players I played with were guys from where you're from, and they're all, you know, all walks of life different, and they all have one thing in common, man. They just dog Florida, and we go back and forth on it. And I know you had some time in Florida, really my hometown in Tampa. I mean, are we going to be cool with this? Or are you kind of looking at me as this crazy dude from down south?
I got some crazy experiences in Florida. A big part of my family is from Florida. So my mom, she grew up in a family with 5 other sisters, so 6 daughters total. And a lot of them live in Florida. So I would go down to Florida all the time when I was younger and got some good experiences there. But then as I grew up, my first 2 years in the league, I was on loan in Tampa Bay and got to experience that as an adult, which is a whole other thing. And so, yeah, I got some love for Florida. It's not all hate.
Okay. Well, that's one way to describe, you know, you had some stories. That's usually where it ends, especially when cameras are on, talking about my hometown. But you brought up your mom. I know you're a big family guy. You come from a family of athletes. Your dad was an athlete, I think a wrestler, right? And
Yep.
And your mom played hockey, and they met in college. Is that accurate?
Correct. Yeah, my mom played field hockey. My dad was a wrestler at Ohio University. That's where they met.
Yeah, and then I always joke around, like, my dad was this guy from Mississippi that always told me he could whoop my ass if ever we had it. And I say, based on your dad, I think he was a police officer too. So I think he could probably take you if push came to shove. Is that true?
Yeah, he definitely toughened me up a bit. Some of my fondest memories of him trying to teach me wrestling holds and me just wanting no part of it at all. And then as time got on and he realized that I wasn't going to be a wrestler, he would still try and and fit some moves into the soccer world and teaching me how to use my hips and positioning my body. And I mean, those are things you just never forget as a son. So I love him for it. But yeah, there's not too much to translate there from the wrestling mats out to the soccer pitch.
And was he okay with soccer, or did he fight it for a little while?
No, he was great. And to be honest, I did everything under the sun in terms of sports growing up. You know, I was heavy into track, played a little bit of basketball. I would have played football, but they ended up not letting me because didn't pass my physical. That's a whole nother story. But I did everything. And so eventually when it weeded out to soccer, he was cool with it, knowing that I gave everything else a shot.
Yeah, well, that's cool. And then, you know, we talk about the land, or Cleveland. Talk about Ohio in general is just a hotbed for soccer. There's so many guys that have come out of there, some really great players. I mean, I saw something that said you went undefeated as the nationally ranked #1 school in the country in high school. Is that y'all didn't lose a game for like 35 games or something crazy?
Yeah, so we won my junior year, which was the first state title for my high school. And then we continued that streak into my senior year where we didn't lose a game. And we had some really fantastic players, a lot of good players that went on to Division I programs. And it's just really great memories, friendships that last a lifetime. You know, some of my closest friends are still those guys. And it's really like where you learn about winning, you know, like you said, just have a pedigree of winning, and it starts at the young ages. And so I'm really happy I was able to have that experience at such a top caliber high school.
Yeah, I think I went like 28 games in high school where we didn't win a game. So I think, you know, it balances itself out. You don't lose a game, we don't win a game. But you brought your high school up. Your high school is, you know, it's a pretty popular high school. I love. I'm fascinated with the guys in the league, so I always do a deep dive into them. And like your high school now, you can always go look and see who the famous alums are. And there's some cool connections. You're on there. I'm not even on mine. So if that makes you feel, you know, soccer's not a real big thing in Tampa. So I don't.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm not in the Hall of Fame yet. I'm still waiting on that one.
Yeah, well, it looks like I think you're going to make it because there's like they write like blogs about you there, and it's a great place to learn a little bit more about you. But you know, I saw Brian Hoyer, you know, the quarterback, and then the crazy one is Oliver Luck went there. And for those that don't know who Oliver Luck was basically responsible for helping bring the Houston Dynamo Stadium into the city of Houston, and he was our team president when I got traded here. So. You know, he's the father of Andrew Luck. So
yeah, good family. They're a big soccer family. Andrew, when I was out in San Jose, Andrew was at Stanford, and we would cross paths a little bit because they were involved with the earthquakes. He did like an internship there, and then I had like a small stint with the national team. I was on the bench for Snow Classico, and then the next game we were in Azteca, and Andrew Luck went to the game in Mexico, and we came back on the plane together because we were both going back to the Bay Area. So really good family, nice people.
Yeah, Andrew's great. And you know, I think that's awesome that he's just flying around the world watching soccer while you're really going to play. But so let's talk about you go from your area in Cleveland or in Ohio, and you go to Notre Dame. I just talked to Chris Rolfe. He was like, "Oh, that's a Notre Dame guy." And I said, Chris, what in the heck is the Monogram Club? And he couldn't explain it to me. What is this Monogram Club you guys have at Notre Dame?
The Monogram Club is is the varsity letter club. You know, you get a monogram for every year that you're a varsity athlete. I was a 4-year monogram winner, so that gives you like a different status. But then you can also pay into it when you're alumni to help support the programs, to help support events that are happening around the university and around the different athletic programs, because of the alumni network being so good. Like they do a lot of events when they travel to different cities. So a lot of these alumni show up, they host parties, host barbecues, all these different things. So just a really nice way to be involved with the program when you're not actually playing there anymore, and support the university.
Yeah, that's great. I know it's a great school, and people are really proud to be a part of it. So, and Bobby Clark, was he the coach that brought you in there?
Oh yeah.
And tell me a little bit about Bobby. I met Bobby at Stanford when I was getting recruited. But tell me a little bit about him, your experience with him.
He was a great guy, man. Like full of wisdom. Was the first older coach that I had, but full of energy. And so those two things contrast a little bit and would just leave you with very vivid images of like us running around the lake and him running with us, being in the gym, him doing like bench presses and sit-ups with us. Just a really great guy that loved being around the team, loved molding young men into adults, just imparted a lot of wisdom on us. I think that program, as much as anything, was about us growing up as men. And that was very important. He was a very good teacher. And that's really what stuck out to me about Bobby.
Okay. And you had a lot of success there. I believe you were a goal scorer going into college, but he was the one that kind of moved you around a little bit. Is that right?
Yeah, I played midfield the majority of college until my senior year, where we were going through a transition at left back, and he threw me back there a couple of games, and I did pretty well, and it stuck throughout the year, and that's what it was going into the draft. And I was still, like, even at the combine, I played a little bit of left mid, and my rookie year, a little bit of left midfield as well, but that's where the transition really started.
Okay. And then, you graduated while you were there, right? You did finance. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yeah, I graduated in 3.5, and that was a little bit because I was thinking about MLS and starting up in January, but mostly because I just didn't want to go home.
Okay.
I just love being at school so much and loved having the freedom that comes with, that I just tried to stay on campus every summer that I could.
All right. And you're kind of in that window of, like PDL was a big thing kind of when I was coming in, and you had a lot of PDL experience. I'd say my craziest stories, whether I was a professional or, post-professional, before I was a professional, PDL was really the big eye-opening thing for me. I also played on a team where we hired old veteran professionals as opposed to just being a bunch of college kids. But, I know you played on a handful of teams, and y'all had some really good ones. Do you have any crazy stories, or was that where you realized, all right, I'm going to do well at the next level playing, with these guys?
No, I mean, some crazy stories, people used to give me a lot of crap because I switched PDL teams every summer that I was in college. So they used to call me a traitor big time. I played for in South Bend, the Indiana Invaders, my first year. And then I played for Cleveland Internationals. And then I played for Chicago Fire. And so those teams were always interesting because it was kind of like ragtag guys coming back home from their college, and some guys coming from very far away, but really good memories. It's really pure memories because, some guys are away from their families, really learning if they're going to make it, as you're saying, learning if they're ready for the next level, and doing some pretty wild stuff to know. Because it's not like any of those teams are shelling out a lot of money for nice places to stay or nice food to eat or anything like that. But like a lot of good memories with guys that are playing in the league now. The internationals team that I played on was so cool to be on because I left Cleveland having gone to Notre Dame, but there was such a good talent base there. And so me being able to get back and play with those guys, Darlington was on that team, Steve Zakawani, Ben Zemansky, Josh Williams. I think Evan Bush was on that team. So we had a really fun team, really good team.
Basically Akron.
Yeah. But like it was so much fun to play on that team. All those guys were so good. And then the next year when we went to Chicago, played with Tim Ream, Seth Sinovic. I'm trying to remember who else was on that team, but there was Andre Akpan. So there was just like I got to play with guys from all over the country, apart from my college team, that gave me a whole nother experience and an outlet and understanding of, like you're saying, where I was at and the level and everything. So it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed those days.
Well, I don't have any names of professionals that I play with. Talk about finance. The guy that owned our team was like I think he was like one of the owners of Raymond James, like
Yeah.
like Raymond James. And so I think you were allowed 8 professional players, and he would give them each a blank check at the end of the year and tell them to write what they thought they earned. But he would bring in guys like we had like German players that would come in for a couple weeks. And we did terrible on the road because guys would just go missing because they were just there to party. And it was fun, though. I mean, we were good. And that was where I first believed I could play because the coach was like, oh, you're better than these other guys that are in the league. And I was like, really? Like, I think I was a sophomore in college. Like, oh, this is cool. But this isn't about me and my crazy Florida friends.
No, but it is kind of like that. You're playing with guys that you never imagined yourself playing with before from all over the world. And you're like, all right, putting this together a little bit. This is cool. Yeah,
no, it was an incredible experience. I could do a whole podcast just on guys probably telling stories from the people they met playing PDL, but that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about getting drafted. You go to the second round to San Jose. Talk to me a little bit about what you're thinking. Are you excited? I mean, it sounds like you were prepared. Probably went a little later than you wanted, but talk to me a little bit about San Jose.
No, I was happy to go where I went. My dream was always just to play professional soccer, and so getting that chance, I was really, really excited. Really excited to go out to California. Playing in San Jose, I made some great friends. Being a part of a team that was just so passionate and full with a lot of veterans that I'm still friends with to this day, that taught me so much about competing and what it means to be a professional soccer player. Because really, I mean, that's the biggest transition when you're coming out is learning the life and what it takes to be at that level. And I had so many good mentors, Jason Hernandez, Ramiro Corrales, all of these guys, John Bush, Joe Cannon, all of these guys that, played such a big part in forming the person that I am, the player that I am today. So good memories there.
Joe wasn't always a good role model, just FYI.
I caught all these guys on the back end, Joe and Ramiro.
And there were some other guys on those squads that were not good role models, but they were probably a little closer in age to you.
Wando was really great with me. When I've told this story before, but the first weekend we were there, all the rookies were staying in this motel, and he drove down from Danville, which is where he lives, pretty far away. It's like let's say an hour away, and he picked us up in his Ford Explorer and took us out for a night out and treated us all very well. And that was like my first experience with Wando. I was like, wow, this guy's really cool. And he wasn't even playing at that point. He wasn't a starter. Was there for the full evolution of Wando. And I know that the way he is today, like the genuine type of guy that he's always been, that type of guy, which is really cool to see.
Well, you've got kids now, so you understand that sometimes you gotta have team outings with the younger guys. You gotta be a good professional and bond.
Right. I'm sure he used that excuse very quickly.
Yeah. He's still using it, I'm sure. But so San Jose wasn't exactly. Your rise was pretty quick, but it didn't happen right away. You hinted at going to Tampa earlier. You get loaned out. I think they found the farthest team they could send you to on the other side of the country. But were you okay going on a lower division team?
Yeah, I was happy to go. I think for me, it was also learning about where I stood in the pecking order and what I could accomplish and what level I was at. I was still mentally fragile in that state in the beginning stages because I was switching to left back. I was learning a whole new position, relying a lot on instincts, and that's just not enough to get you through in Major League Soccer. And so I was learning from Bobby Comby. I was learning from Ramiro Corrales, but I needed some playing time. So to be able to go to Tampa and get a lot of games in a relatively short period of time was invaluable for me. And it gave me a lot of confidence mentally to be able to come back and say, okay, I can do it at the Major League Soccer level too.
Yeah, and then speaking of coming back, your 2012, that season, if it weren't for, I think, 17, it would probably be anyone's dream season. You have another one coming up after that, but talk to me a little bit. I think you're an all-star. That's your only time you were an all-star, but you get called into the national team. Y'all win the Supporters Shield. That's a pretty big rise pretty quick. How'd you handle that? Do you think that was inevitable? Like you were going to have that success, or did it kind of catch you off guard?
I couldn't even grasp the gravity of it in the moment. I wasn't really trying to. I was just completely in the moment, really focused on every game, really enjoying it because of the type of team we were on. Yeah. We didn't hold anything back in these games. We went for it from the first kick. And so to play like that is just a really fun way to play. And so I was just really enjoying it. And I think it caught up to me probably in 2013, when you're talking about maturing and understanding what it means to be a winner over and over again in Major League Soccer. Everyone's taught lessons. And I think that's what that 2013 year was. And it's still a big stepping stone for me to what I was able to achieve after that. So both 2012 and 2013 were important lessons for me.
Yeah, then I've got the Canada jersey. I think that was your first cap with the U.S. team, and I think you were called in for some qualifiers, which is pretty cool. And and then let's fast forward. You get traded. I know you've talked about this before, but a pretty cool story on how you found out you got traded. And by pretty cool, I mean it sounds horrible. It sounds horrible to me, and I know my wife wouldn't be happy about this. Tell the listeners what happened. How'd you find out you had been traded?
Yeah, so my wife is from Paraguay, and we had the wedding down there. So first weekend in December, we're down there getting everything ready for the wedding. As you can imagine, how stressful that is. Not that I was stressed; my wife was handling everything. God bless her. But we're going through a lot down there, and I just get an email from our GM saying, we need to talk, and can you call me immediately when you get this? And like,
never good.
When you get it, and it was the day before our wedding. And so I give him a call, and he's like, yeah, Toronto, it's going to be a really good opportunity for you. Say thank you. And I just turned to my wife, and she had no idea what was coming. And I let her know, and to be honest, she was really thrilled. She was happy because it was like we were starting on this new journey together as a couple. Yep. What better way to start off than in a brand new city that we had heard really good things about. The only question was like, do we tell people right now, or do we wait till after the wedding?
Yeah.
And she was like, no, they're going to find out. Let's just tell them right now. Otherwise everyone will be whispering and it'll be more awkward than it should be. So we told everyone, and we made it a thing. So it was a nice start to our marriage.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And, were you pretty upset with I know you're excited about the new opportunity, but did it catch you out of the blue, or what were you thinking at the time?
It did and it didn't. I was, they had brought someone else in to play left back at the end of 2013. I wasn't playing as much anymore. And there was some talks afterwards about, what's going to happen with me. But I was a fairly young player at the time. And I thought, I saw myself in San Jose for a good number of years. So I thought, okay, they're going to stick with me. And it didn't happen that way. But, when I look back on it, and this is what I was trying to say, it was just such an important experience for me to go through as a player, and really propelled me in my competitive mentality to where I am today and the things that I was able to achieve. So it did, and it didn't catch me off guard.
Okay. Well, let's fast forward, a couple, I say, MLS, I call them MLS years, meaning you played them, but there's always stories in the story. But I kind of want to fast forward to 16. Y'all start really having some success. You've got one of the, better redemption stories is what I call it. And, I always, as a fan of the game now, and even when I played, I love my guys. Like I remember when Salt Lake played Kansas City and Lavelle Palmer hit the crossbar. Like I was just devastated, and I didn't even care who won the game. Like but it's like one of those where, and I don't want to bring up, you missing a penalty kick, but that's one of those things where I feel like at that point the game's, it is what it is, and it's just like, you don't really win. I mean, you do, but you don't. But let's talk about 16 and then, this penalty shootout. I mean, I didn't even realize, it sounds like you volunteered to take the sixth shot because it goes to sudden death. Is that real? They don't have an order?
No, yeah, that's real. We didn't practice penalty kicks or have a set order or anything. And so the background story on that was that I had a really good year personally as well within the team. I consider it one of, up there with any of the other top years that I've had. I had 5 goals and 4 assists from left back. So that was
hat trick that year.
No, that was 2017.
Oh yeah, the old. No, that was the next year. Yeah,
so,
okay.
2016, I was getting into the attack very well, and I was helping out on both sides of the ball, and so I felt really confident. I had some other good plays in the playoffs that helped us win, and so we get down to this crunch time, and it was time to decide, and I was like, yeah, I'll step up and do it. Never taken a penalty kick in my professional career, but if not now, when? And so I stepped up with all the calm in the world, and it sailed on me a little bit, hit the underside of the crossbar, and it's just it's tough in that moment when you're at home, stadium's packed, millions of fans watching on ESPN, and you feel like you let everyone down. But again, you use these things as stepping stones to propel you into the next thing. And if that's the mindset that you have, then, there's no failures. And so 2017 was kind of the redemption year for Toronto FC and for myself to be able to come back in a really strong way, prove to everyone that we were one of the top teams, prove to everyone the immense amount of work that we had put into that point to turn the club around and really cement ourselves at the top.
Yeah, it wasn't just kind of a good year. I think y'all won the treble. You won pretty much everything you could win. Y'all had a special team. And I remember, I played against you with DC when you were scoring all those goals. And y'all just had a really interesting way to play where, you were able to get down you guys would just bomb the box, and because the way defenders, 4 in the back, the outside backs are like, I got my guy, and they would just come in, they would condense inside, and you're just wide open for tap-ins on the back post. And it was hard to play against you guys, and y'all had, it helps when you have a special player, and some of the guys y'all did have, but no, tell me,
thank you.
Talk to me a little bit about winning a year after it's got to be sweet. There's probably nothing better than, especially for you, having a great year. I think, when was the Gold Cup? That was
2017.
2017. So, you literally, in 1 year, you won pretty much everything you were involved in. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's incredible.
One of those dream years, like you're saying. I think the biggest part about that team, aside from the talent, was just the mentality that we had. Like, we were so bloodthirsty to win trophies, especially after 2016. We knew that we could do it, and so I think it's rare that teams set out from the first moment to win every single trophy of the season that you're involved in. But that was our goal. And that mentality was really what carried us through the season. Like, we took no games off. We had a bunch of guys contribute in very big, meaningful ways off of the bench, and very timely, important actions that set us up to win. And we kept that going the whole year, man. Like, honestly, we took it as a chip on our shoulder and used every single possible thing as motivation. That people were against us, and that's really what I remember most about that team. Just sort of a lot of strong personalities that got us to that point.
Yeah, and I know you've said it before. Both teams, you won the Supporter Shield with two different groups. That speaks to the depth of the team. And you talked about, especially Toronto, just the level of play and practice. Y'all are probably practicing harder even now. I mean, I know you've kind of been on this crazy run, and you kind of hit a little bit of a hiccup recently, but you've got a lot of guys on your bench that are starters. And y'all, I'd imagine that's credit to the organization, and I know they spend some money, but there's a reason that you guys, Seattle, Portland, some of these bigger clubs that spend some money and they get some depth. There's a reason they do so well. I mean, you've been very fortunate, and to your credit, you're starting on these teams that are very deep, which is pretty impressive in my opinion.
Thanks. Yeah, I think you're spot on. Like, the teams that do so well are the teams that have guys 1 through 11 able to stay healthy, play at a really top level all year, but then on top of that, have that extra amount of guys that come off the bench consistently and help you out in really important ways. And on top of that, they have a strong mentality and good coaching. And so I've been, like you said, really fortunate to be a part of a couple of groups like that. So I don't take that for granted at all. I don't take it for granted at all.
All right. Well, let's change the tune up a little bit. Tell me about what's going on. You're the executive director. Is that
yeah, correct?
I have that title right.
Yeah.
Just tell me a little bit about the Black Players Coalition of MLS. Let's talk a little bit about what you have going on, what your mission is, what you're trying to do in terms of pushing the conversations forward, not letting that go away.
Yeah, out of everything that's happened this year, that's been by far the most positive thing. Being a part of this group of Black players that have come together within the league has been really special to me, something that's changed me as a man. I've been fortunate enough to be the leader of it, but really it's been a group effort to get where we are today. And it's really in just 4 short months. And I give the credit to the guys. They've been spending a lot of time on Zoom, coordinating everything, but we've done everything underneath the sun to work with the league to make change there, to end systemic racism in Major League Soccer, to more head coaches, getting executives hired, to giving more access to the game for young Black boys and girls so that they can be a part of it like their counterparts. To really helping in our communities. Like, there are just so many guys in our group that are engaged in their local communities doing really good work, whether that's pushing legislation, coordinating donations, money, food, and helping out with poverty in their local markets. Like, there's just so much good work going on, and to be able to harness it and bring it under one umbrella and to bring it under a clear direction has been really fruitful for us in Major League Soccer. We have a long way to go. We have a lot of work to do, but just the group coming together was the very first start of it, and it's been beneficial ever since. So looking forward to some more really, really great things, but we know we got a lot of hard work in front of us.
Yeah, and then tell me, and I don't want to go into any. I never try to interject myself into a locker room, but I miss the locker room. I miss that the most, right? I miss the players and the guys. And I miss traveling. That was a great time that you get to hang out with the people you like on the road and things like that. But how are there conversations going on? With white players, Black players, Latin players. How I get asked that question by people a lot, and it's I'm like, guys, I don't play in MLS anymore. I'm not in the locker room. I don't know the answers to that, but. How do you feel the narrative is, and what are you hearing from other how's Toronto, and how are you hearing things from other locker rooms? Are guys really coming together? Are they having meaningful conversation, or are people not sure what to say? What's going on?
Yeah, I've gotten that question a lot this year too, and I think it's inevitable with everything that's gone on. Of course, there's been more conversations on the topic of race this year than I've ever been a part of in this league. And that's understandable. But the important thing for us with Black Players for Change is that we don't let those conversations die down. I think we see this cycle of violence over and over again. It's like a wave or a cycle where comes and it goes. And so we have to make sure that it's always at the forefront of our mind that we're attacking this and leading the charge as a league and as a soccer community, knowing that it does exist in our game. Racism does exist in our game. There's no place for it. And it's all of our responsibility to eradicate racism within the sport of soccer. And on top of that, as human beings that have such a huge platform, we have to use our platform in a positive way to make sure that we're affecting it outside of the game as well. And so that's what's happening, starting organically in our locker rooms. Those conversations have been happening, like you're saying, on the plane, at the poker tables, whatever it may be. But it's our job within Black Players for Change to make sure that doesn't die out.
Okay, and then I know you were talking about. I've heard you talk before about the first call with 70 guys around the league. I know that was pretty special and awesome. I know you also talked to the owners, and I'm always real as a PA guy, right? We're not allowed to talk about the owners and things like that. But did you feel like that you were heard, and that there's been some issues with the owners this year, unfortunately. Yeah. But do you feel like they're on board and supporting not just the players, but they're supporting Black players?
Yeah, we got a lot of support on the call with the owners. I think it was a good time spent with them just to touch base for the very first time, introduce ourselves to them, introduce what we plan on doing within the league, and explain to them why it's so crucial we need their help. And that was received very well. They offered their hand of help. And so now it's about continuing those conversations. It goes along with what I was just saying. Like it doesn't end there. This mutual respect for each other and what we're doing is not enough. You have to push the envelope. You have to be ready from their side, from our side, to make real change. And that takes time. We're not naive to think that it's going to happen within 4 months of our organization existing. We know that this is going to take months and months of meetings. And so what we've been able to do is set up this diversity subcommittee, which was announced, I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago. But as that continues to grow and firm up, that is where we're going to see a lot of this change happening within the league, where it's changing bylaws, changing policy, updating hiring practices, implicit bias training, educational trainings for coaches and staff members, and all of these things that we talked about from the very beginning of our organization. So it's baby steps, but it was a good first start.
Yeah, no, it sounds it's two things. It sounds awesome. It sounds like you've said this a lot. But that's good. I'm glad that you're finding your voice. And I know you've always had some off the field hobbies. I think you got your personal trainer's license, but I think you've really kind of found your footing here. I know you've been a leader in college, and now you're finding yourself as not just a leader on your teams, but you're also kind of a leader for the league. Is this something, clearly you're passionate about it. Is this something we should expect to see going forward out of you?
Yeah, like you're saying, I take it back to the high school days and what that taught me. My high school was like a Catholic prep school in downtown Cleveland, not in the greatest part of the city. And that was really the beginning of where all this service came from. They taught us how to give more of ourselves. The motto there is men for others. And that's where I started doing things after school, small things like, shoveling elderly people's driveways, food drives, handing out food baskets, Thanksgiving, all these different types of things that taught me that there are ways to give back that didn't have to be like crazy time consuming or, really a burden on you. And so I really think that I became a leader off the field in the community there, and that continued to grow. And I was doing book club stuff in San Jose and Toronto. And I was part of the local chapter of the NAACP at Notre Dame. And so this has always been a part of me, and, being able to express it with my peers within the league has been an incredibly great feeling, spending so much time together on Zoom, coordinating these things, and then going to compete on the field together on the weekend has been an enriching feeling. Feeling like for the first time we're together in something, fighting that we're going to make change for the betterment of the next generation. That's leaving a lasting impact on this league and on this generation of professional soccer and soccer in greater North America. That's what's important to us. And so it's been really fulfilling for sure.
And now I know I want to get to, I know you got to get going here. I want to get to the footballclub.org, but before I do that, what do you say to, I know the players, they're having these conversations and I think that soccer players, especially because it's a world's game, I think we have a different view than most Americans. Just having so many different people on us and things of that nature. But what do you say to the fans? And I don't want to go off on Dallas, what happened when we started back up. But normally I would say, Justin, what can the fans do to, if you were talking about a charitable organization, right? What can we do to build awareness and draw some support? But what do you tell, young fans, young people, how can they support this movement, because it's so important. It affects all of us, and it's not a foundation. It's a human element. I mean, it's a life thing. So what is your message to the casual soccer fan, for what we're trying to do here?
Yeah, us as professional soccer players, we're role models, so look up to your role models. We're teaching you, we're showing you the way. This is important to us. And it's not just Black Players for Change. It's every player within Major League Soccer. And you've seen that. You've seen the kneeling before the games. You've seen the things that we've done in Orlando. You've seen the things we've done post-Orlando when we decided not to play. This is a group effort, and we're all saying that this matters to us. And so follow our lead. We are, as you're saying, we're human beings, and we're teaching you something that's important at a human level, not just as a professional athlete level, and that this is something that they should embrace as well and emanate it from within themselves and their own communities. If you hear something, say something. If you see something, say something. Speak up, use your voice, and that's really what's going to lead to this change that we want. Yeah,
that's awesome. It's a great message. And, I also say you were a little ahead of your time, and with the footballclub.org, talking about the importance of voting. What do you have going on? What do you have going on there, and what's your message now with considering what's going to be happening here very soon in a matter of a week?
Yeah, the footballclub.org was the idea that we'd get together as professional soccer players all across the world, all across the United States and North America, to come together and show that we are about our communities, to show that we care about each other, and to emanate that message. And so we've had a fantastic network of all the way down the line, amateur to college to semi-professional to professional athletes that have come together and working together to spread this message. And we've been able to continue that with Black Players for Change. So go check out blackplayersforchange.org, see everything that we're doing around voting and engaging everyone to vote in this upcoming presidential election and beyond the election as well, because we know staying engaged is very important for our country's future as well. So both footballclub.org, blackplayersforchange.org, check them out.
Well, hey, I appreciate you giving me some of your time. I know you're very busy. I think it's an awesome busy. I wish I was still playing, and I'm glad that you're having success not only on the field, but I think what you're doing off the field is more impressive to someone like me. I don't know how you're juggling it all, and I know it's affecting you personally, but I think you're handling it the right way, and you are a great role model. So anytime you want to, we can help you out from the PA standpoint. Please let us know. We're trying to support anything that you guys are doing, and we're in this together. And I want to thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Yeah, Bobby, thanks for having me. Shout out to the PA as well. That's been very supportive of everything that we do in Black Players for Change. We're leading the way together. So continue to do everything that you're doing. Continue to use your voice, Bobby, and looking forward to it.
Justin Morrow, everybody.